We can hear you, Lorena.
Hello, everyone. We have Garry. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Good afternoon. My apologies. I did try to get on a little bit earlier. And Lorena helped me out. So thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon, Nazar. Hello, everyone, whoever is joining. We'll wait for a couple of minutes to let everybody in. So it's 3 p.m. and now I will officially start the webinar. Hello, everybody. A very good afternoon. And on behalf of A&O, I welcome you all to the Senior Immigrant Safety Expo hosted by A&O Support Services for Older Adults with funding from New Horizons for Senior Program. So I would like to begin by acknowledging the land where we are hosting this event. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that Manitoba is a traditional land of the Cree, Ojibwe, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene people, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, and we are on Treaty 1 territory. So as we come to the end of a 3-day great expo on crucial safety topics for our seniors, this presentation is very apt for the weather we are experiencing today. So it's about driving safely as we age and winter driving. So I have with me our presenters, Samantha, Rodeck, and Garry Perez. I hope, Garry, that's how I pronounce your last name, Perez?
That's correct, Perez.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you, Samantha and Garry, for being with us today. So I would first introduce Samantha to everyone. Samantha is Executive Director for Transport Options Network for Seniors, commonly known as TANS. She's passionate about providing education and resources for older Manitobans and has been working within the older sector for 10 great years. And Garry has been with MPI for over 14 years, working in the claims department, driver's education, and now as community relations specialist. So before we begin, I would also like to remind our participants that we can't see or hear you. So if you have any questions to ask, please use the chat room or the question and answer room. And we will read all your questions at the end of the presentation and try to answer each of them. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll be giving away 3 gift cards for prizes, and we will select 3 random winners. And another important information, later today, you all will be receiving an email from Corina Loyen with a link to a survey. So please take a few minutes to complete the survey and tell us about how you felt about the whole this expo this week. So that's all from me now, and I'll give away the stage to Samantha and Garry. So to you, the presenters now. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for having us today. Yeah, what a timely presentation for our first snowy day in Manitoba, and kind of gloomy. And my mom actually just texted me saying the roads are a little bit slippery. So this is a perfect segue into our conversation. I'm going to share my screen now, and we will get started. So again, let me know if you have any questions as we go through. I'm going to do my presentation, and then I'll pass it over to Garry to do some winter driving. So our topic today is driving safely as we age, which, as we can imagine, is an important part of everyone's life. And I'll tell you a little bit about our organization first, because there might be some people who are not familiar. So we are a provincial not-for-profit organization. So we look at transportation all over Manitoba, and not just specifically driving. We will look at things like volunteer driving, we'll look at transit. In rural communities, we look at things like the rural handy vans, accessible vehicles, any type of transportation that is an important aspect of an older adult's life. We work to do a lot of education, some advocacy. We do a lot of presentations like this, and we participate at a lot of committees, so different meetings, and anywhere that we need to bring the voice for older adults, that's what we do as an organization. So we're a board of about, I think we're 14 people right now, and we have board members varying from university professors to community senior resource coordinators. And really it's coming together with the common goal that we know transportation is one of the most crucial aspects to ensuring that people can continue living in community. So we know that, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but we know that for people to be able to not get socially isolated, they need to be able to get out and move around. And driving is a very important part of that. Not the only part of it, but a very important part of it. So what we're going to look at today is really kind of an overview of who are the older drivers. So a profile of them, factors that can affect safe driving, what changes you could potentially make, and transportation alternatives. And I forgot to mention at the start, we thank MPI for their funding to support this presentation, and they have been supporting us for several years now in providing this presentation to the community. So we appreciate that. So who are our older drivers? Just a couple of little stats for you. We know that all across the province, by 2025, 25% of all drivers will be 64 years of age or older. So I'm not sure this is as current as I think the stat is, but we know that there are many older adults who do continue to drive and will continue to drive even beyond the age of 64. We know that many older adults, even newcomers to Manitoba, do drive, and so that's why we have to continue getting this education out there, because it's an important part of people's lives, and it's a large percentage of the drivers on the road. So as you can imagine, we always wonder, well, why are people driving more? So we know not even just seniors, we know that many people in general are driving a lot more than they have in previous years. So we know that there are a lot of people living in rural communities. There's a lot of older adults who've actually want to stay in their rural communities, but they know they potentially have to drive to get things like their services. So like the dentist, the doctor, and shopping. We know that in Manitoba, many people continue to drive because the options are not necessarily there. So There's gaps between transportation services in Winnipeg and what could potentially be available in rural communities. So we know that although a lot of our older adults live within Winnipeg, there are a large percentage of people who do live in those rural communities. And those people are actually a large percentage of our drivers because they are the ones that often have to drive to Winnipeg, say for medical appointments. They'll drive to those bigger city centers like Morden or Steinbach. And those people oftentimes are who are most impacted when they are not available to drive or able to drive anymore, I should say. So this is kind of just a few things that people say when we do ask them why they want to continue driving. A lot of people, the first thing they'll say, it's freedom to them. They have the ability to get up, choose where they want to go. They have the ability to continue working. They can go to those medical appointments freely. They can move around the province. They could even travel by car. But most important, people just want to stay connected to their family and friends and their community. And we know that if people don't have good transportation options or they don't drive, it's often the community groups like us that miss the perspective of the older adults. So it often is the community that suffers when older adults can no longer drive or have other options. So that is a really, really important thing that we like to bring as a message is not only do older adults suffer if they can't drive anymore, but our communities suffer because we know that many community organizations, even like A&O, are so reliant on volunteers, and many of those volunteers are older adults. So we always have to think about that. But although we obviously have this presentation for a reason, we have to recognize that although age is a number, does not determine a person's ability to drive. So just because you may be 80 or 85 doesn't mean that you're a bad driver or you shouldn't be driving. It is more, we focus on a person's ability to drive. So you can be 90, and if you're healthy and you're very able to do all the functioning that you need to drive, then you can be a good driver. So it's not age that depicts a person's ability to drive, it's really that functional health. And that's what we focus on in this presentation. So there are some changes that we all need to watch for these things. And although that we can say that older adults experience some of these more often, typically many people become stressful when they're driving, right? Think about driving in traffic hour, but it's when these things happen all the time or more often, that's when we have to be concerned. So if you know that in 3 weeks from now, you have a doctor's appointment and you're going to have to go downtown Winnipeg, and you're someone who lives, say, on the outskirts of the city, and you have to drive there, and you start getting really stressed out and overwhelmed, and that gives you a lot of anxiety, that's a really good sign that driving may not be as comfortable for you anymore. So it's those things that we have to watch for, like even lots of crashes, lots of accidents, just being generally forgetful when you're driving. Those are all little signs that we have to watch for, even as caregivers or community members. We have to look out for our older adults and just pay attention to those little things that we see more and more over time. Not everybody will experience these, but it does happen. So what are those factors that can affect safe driving? Oops. Sorry, hit the wrong button. So vision, obviously, as you can imagine, is very important for driving. We know that being able to not see as clearly at night, if you have trouble driving at dusk and dawn, if you have a really hard time judging the distance between cars, oh, sorry, my dog is going to bark in the background. If you have sensitivity to glare, or which is like rain or light on your windshield, those are really important things to be mindful of. And just knowing that vision is one of the most primary things you need to drive. So if you can start being aware of those changes, you can often get help a lot faster with your vision, and you can potentially drive a lot longer if you address some of those issues that come up with your vision. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go through all the points because I realize I have apparently a lot more to say than time. Some of the common conditions that we see: cataracts, a lot of people know what those are, glaucoma, and macular degeneration. I always have a hard time with that word. But those are the really common vision conditions that we do see in older adults. And oftentimes these are things that, if are not addressed or not monitored, can impact a person's ability to drive safely. So obviously we want to ensure that you guys are going to an optometrist regularly. Always make sure that you have your appropriate glasses on if you wear glasses, and don't wear it's obvious sometimes, but don't wear sunglasses or those tinted glasses at night unless they're a prescription. Hearing, I say everything is important for driving, but obviously hearing and vision, very crucial. So many older adults, for some reason, don't think about getting their hearing checked. Hearing loss is a normal part of being a human and aging, but also it's just really about monitoring some of those serious conditions. So if you have a lot of ringing in your ears, it's really important to get those things checked, because as you can imagine, when you're driving, if you don't hear the sirens or vehicles honking around you, that can be really dangerous to you and to other people around you. So hearing, very important. So your physical ability, so being able to do all of those movements. A lot of the times, if you've been driving for many years, you forget what it actually takes to drive a vehicle, because we just get in, we put the key in, we almost become like a robot. But it's not until something happens that we then realize that driving actually is a very physical task. So if you are starting to have trouble looking over your shoulder, if you're having trouble moving your foot from the gas to the brake because of different leg or knee problems, if you have trouble moving the steering wheel, and just experiencing a lot of pain when you're walking, those are things that can really be hindering to your driving ability. There are several health conditions that do affect a person's ability to drive. So I'm not saying that all of the people who get these types of health conditions won't be able to drive. It's more often when we see people who have these health conditions that don't monitor them and get their doctor to help them with it, that's when it affects their driving ability. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I can make my presentation available if anybody needs it afterwards. But some of the bigger ones, like diabetes, like Alzheimer's and dementia, those are really challenging things to, like more Alzheimer's and dementia, it's very challenging to diagnose those things, but often are those are the most common things that do affect older adults when they're older drivers, I should say. Sleep is extremely important for driving, and many people don't even consider it, don't think about it, but it is really one of the crucial pieces that affects your overall health and your life. We know that many people forget that medication actually does affect your ability to drive, and it affects your ability to be alert in the morning. So just knowing and asking your doctor and your pharmacist, ask them how your medication is going to impact your driving ability. It's really important, and especially if you take some type of sleep medication, just knowing that when you take it, ensure you're giving yourself enough time that it's not in your system any longer, because that, if you're taking it and then going driving, that's more likely how accidents can happen. Sleep medication is very one area that's not touched enough in the medication world. People are finding that, I would say I hear the most of people saying, well, I don't sleep as well as I used to. I have a hard time resting enough during the day. And then when I go driving, I'm tired. I always tell people it's not about the quantity. So it's not how many hours you're sleeping, it's the quality of hours. So if you can focus on getting 4, 5, 6 hours of good sleep, take that and use that instead of trying to get 8 hours of really poor sleep. A lot of times, if you're not actually out moving or exercising enough during the day, your body won't be tired enough that it needs that sleep. I think I have a couple more minutes. The most important thing that I say and I recommend to people, find yourself a really good pharmacist, find a good doctor, and have a team of people around you that support you. Because although your driving may be perfect right now and you may be a good driver, things happen to our health. It happens to everybody. And we need to know that we have family or friends that can help us out when we can't drive anymore. It's really important to have a good pharmacist that you can ask about those medications. So whenever you get a new medication, you should be asking that pharmacist all of the questions that you need to know if it's going to impact your ability to drive. So with your physical health, the biggest recommendation that I have is try as much as you can to continue walking. So it sounds counterintuitive if we're talking about driving, but there's a lot of research that is done saying if you can walk at least 30 minutes a day, it doesn't have to be super fast, it doesn't have to be like a running speed. If you can just walk 30 minutes a day, you can potentially increase your driving years by 5 to 10, considering depending other factors that play into that. But walking really helps all of those core muscles that you use in your body, which are all of the same muscles that you actually use for driving. So many people will think, okay, well, I can't walk as much anymore, I'm just going to drive more. But it's actually the people that can't walk as much that often have a harder time driving because they don't have the strength, they don't have the alertness, and they don't have the general health of their body to be a safe driver. So I'm not going to go through all of these because I think my time is pretty much up, but just some of the common things. If you're not comfortable driving in rush hour, then don't plan to drive in rush hour if you don't have to. On days like today, if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. And I'm sure Garry will talk more about that, but even knowing your alcohol and medication, avoid mixing alcohol, drugs, and medication. And just knowing that as we age, anything we put in our body in terms of drugs, alcohol, medication, stays in our body longer because our metabolism is slower. So that means if you have 2 drinks, those 2 drinks could potentially impact you and affect your driving ability compared to what it was like 20 or 30 years ago. I'm not going to go through this because we talked about those. And I just want to point one thing out, because there is a time where people may not always be able to drive. And I think even if we are still in good health and we still can drive, we should know and should plan to have other options, because something could happen to you, could happen to me tomorrow. And if I can't drive, I need to plan for what else I'm going to do to get around, because we need to continue living and we need to continue getting out. So just knowing what else is available in your community, it's really, really important. And I want everybody to, either you can connect with me or go on our website and just look at what else is out there for you. Oftentimes people say, well, driving is my only option because it's the most affordable, when in reality, driving is actually quite expensive compared to many of the other options out there. Although driving is more independent, There are some really good resources. Some of them right now are affected by COVID, but in a normal time, there's a few good options. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to pass it over to Garry. If there are any questions, I can answer them in the chat. I'm going to stick around in there. And yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Please feel free to connect to me afterwards if you have any other questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Samantha. Really, really informative presentation here, and thank you for that. Mino, thank you for the wonderful introduction. And I'm going to start sharing my screen here, and I'm going to start my presentation. I know we have till 3:45 here. Just give me a moment. Sorry, I apologize. I thought I had it queued up. Do you see the presentation up right now? Samantha, can you give me?
No, Garry, we don't see the presentation.
No? Okay.
Yes, it's come up now.
Perfect. I apologize for that. I did have it queued up. I don't know why I didn't queue up the first time. Perfect. So again, Minu, thank you for the wonderful introduction. Today, I've been asked to talk about winter driving tips for new Manitobans. And I typically do this presentation for all age groups, but especially for new Manitobans. And this is not just for people who come out of country and have different driving experiences in other countries. It also applies to people who move from other provinces within Canada. So with that being said, why does Manitoba Public Insurance do presentations on winter driving? Again, the common theme today, such a timely presentation because we've had our first snowfall today. So Manitoba winters can pose a challenging driving environment. And as MPI, we can provide tips to new Manitobans on how to be more prepared and safer on our winter roads. I've been working at community relations for just under 5 years now, but I've been with MPI for over 14. And I do want to say that one of the best things about my job is going out into the community, meeting new people, and of course, helping people become safer drivers. And a little bit of a personal thing as well. My parents were one-time new Canadians and Manitobans to this province. And back then, I didn't think they had such resources as this. So it's kind of a personal thing that I get to give back to new Manitobans who get here and become safer drivers and provide a safer community. Okay, so we're going to start out by talking about top 10 tips for winter driving. Number 10, reduce your speed when driving.
Garry, just I'm sorry to just interrupt you. Can you be a little slow for our participants?
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Thank you.
Sorry, Garry. I'm sorry to interrupt you too, but your slides are not advancing. So we can still pretty much only see the first one.
Okay.
Because you have it in just sharing your screen.
And if we can make the slide bigger than your notes, that'll be helpful.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to try that again, okay?
Sure. Maybe if you do that and then just go run the slideshow, unless you need your notes open to you, I don't know.
I thought that's what I did here. Okay, tell me if that's advancing.
No, I think you have to click on slideshow at the top there and then run it. Yeah, from beginning.
How's that?
I think it's taking some time, so we just have to wait for a few seconds.
Hey, no problem. Top 10 tips for winter driving is what it should say for the second slide here.
Mm-hmm. Lorena, it's not going, eh?
It's not going, but I think what we can do, Garry, is pull the, the line in between the slide in your notes, pull it down so that we have the slide, the slide bigger than your notes. That one, yes, there you go. That's better.
That's better. And then just click on each slide, Garry, on the left as
Right.
there.
Yeah.
That'll work.
That'll work?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right. So top 10 tips for winter driving. Number 10, slow down. When I used to work in driver education, I used to deal with a lot of novice drivers of all ages. We had an adult program and also we had the high school program. One of the things we talked about was in adverse conditions or winter driving, if conditions are less than ideal, so meaning less than perfect traction and visibility, what do you do if you have control of your vehicle? You have control of your speed. So slowing down is one of the first things that you can do to become a safer driver in winter conditions. Okay, the other one is number 9 here. Keeping a safe following distance. What does that mean? So the vehicle in front of you, if we're both traveling in winter conditions and that vehicle has to stop for some reason, whether it be an emergency or to avoid something, are you going to be able to stop? So with that being said, follow by a safe distance. Keep that in your mind. If that vehicle in front of you needs to stop, are you going to be able to stop? So you want to allow distance between you and that other vehicle. Number 8, in a skid, meaning your vehicle is sliding or losing control on a patch of either ice or slippery road, what do you want to do? The word relax here, I'm not too much of a fan of. However, that's what you try to do. You try not to panic, okay? That doesn't mean be really relaxed where you're not caring, but you want to pay attention, okay? Don't panic, release the brake and the gas, or what's called an accelerator, and then try to look and steer in the direction you want to go. That'll help you get back on track on where you want to drive. Okay, number 7, see and be seen. What does that mean? Well, today we had a big snowfall, relatively big snowfall. We'll get some more tomorrow. When you go out to your vehicle, if you're parked outside, you're gonna need one of these in Manitoba. Okay, it's a snow brush, very inexpensive. Clean your car off or your vehicle off. Take the snow off. Make sure your headlights and taillights are clear of snow so that other vehicles can see you. And also turn your lights on. We have in these newer vehicles a setting that's called the daylight running lamps. They're a little bit dimmer than the usual. So when you turn your lights on, you can be seen. So a time like this, in about an hour, you're going to be turning your lights on so that they're brighter and it illuminates the rear lights. Okay. And then number 6, make sure your vehicle is in good working condition. Do regular maintenance on your vehicle. It's proven that this cold climates can increase the wear on your vehicle. So therefore, you'll always want to have your vehicle checked up by a qualified mechanic. Okay, number 5, plan your trip, check road and weather conditions. We just pulled out a bulletin today saying that if you wanted to check the road conditions, call the 511 option. What I like to do, I travel a lot for work, is check out the Manitoba 511.ca website. It'll give you the most up-to-date weather conditions and road conditions. And I'll post that website in the chat after my presentation during the question and answer period. Okay, number 4, use a sun visor or sunglasses on sunny days. Okay, sometimes if you have an expensive pair of sunglasses, you do not want to keep that outside in the cold weather. Use a spare set of sunglasses. And yes, sometimes during the day, we get sunny weather where the glare can come off snowbanks or off the street and can cause you to be temporarily lose your vision. Okay, so wearing sunglasses helps you out. Okay, number 3, beware of icy spots, commonly bridges, overpasses, and intersections. Reason being, in those areas identified here, so bridges, overpasses, and intersections, you'll typically get buildup of icy spots because there's no ground to insulate that. So sometimes if you have pretty decent road conditions on the highway, you start going up on these bridges and overpasses, you'll see icy patches. Just be aware of that when you're approaching these sections. Okay. And number 2, speed up and slow down gradually. That sounds like an obvious one, but just be aware of that as well. If you press the gas too much, essentially you're not really going anywhere on icy roads. You're just going to be spinning your tires, and essentially you're not going to be doing anything but spinning. Okay, so the safest thing to do, speed up and slow down gradually, and it lets other drivers slow down and be able to stop behind you as well. And then number 1, be a defensive driver. Leave room again between you and the other vehicle behind you, and that's one of the things that you can do to avoid any accidents. Okay, we're gonna get into some numbers now. So we're currently in what's called the winter months, and what we identify as the winter months are these months that we're in right now: November, December, January, and February. Based on our collection of statistics between 2015 to 2019, 42% of the collisions in Manitoba occur during this time period. So again, just in 4 months, over 40% of the collisions happen within these months. Okay, and to get into more of the numbers, average number of collisions per year, just under 50,000. And then average number of winter collisions per year, just under 21,000. Okay, and let's talk about what we can encounter during these winter months. Winter driving hazards. Snow and ice. The most hazardous part of snow and ice is less traction. So that means your vehicle, you have less control of your vehicle when there's a layer of ice underneath your vehicle and snow. So it makes it more slipperier. And if you ever experience sliding in the rain, sliding on snow or driving on snow, especially ice, is much slipperier. Okay. The other thing is fewer hours of daylight. Driving in the dark is more hazardous than driving in the light. In southern Manitoba, we get roughly 8 hours of sunlight a day in the middle of winter. So for obvious reasons, you can't see as well in the nighttime as in the day. And then reduced visibility. Has anyone driven in what's called whiteout conditions? So essentially snow, either snow, sleet, is coming at your windshield and you can't see as well when you're driving. So that becomes a very bad hazard. Okay, and we have a video on visibility coming up.
The 60-second driver.
One of the most common comments heard by a driver after an accident is, "I just didn't see the other vehicle in time." That's why it's so important to ensure your vehicle's visibility. Using headlights, even during the day, can significantly reduce your chances of a collision because your vehicle is easier to see.
By switching your headlights on, you make the front bulbs brighter and the tail lights and side markers also come on. This way you'll be seen from all directions. Daytime running lights are usually efficient for visibility, but but switching on your headlights is necessary when weather and road conditions are less than ideal.
In snow or rain conditions, your vehicle can be obscured. With your headlights and taillights on and clear of dirt and snow, you'll stand out more.
Being more visible and scanning the road often for other road users, you can reduce the chance of a bicycle, pedestrian, or other vehicles moving into your path.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-Second Driver, Thursdays at 6 on CTV News. Brought to you by Manitoba Public Insurance.
Okay, that video was taken from our 60-second driver road safety videos. If anybody is interested in that, I can post our website and a link. And it has a whole bunch of types of videos of road safety scenarios, whether it be installing car seats, winter driving, pedestrian safety. All of those topics are covered on our 60-second driver. And I could provide those at the end of our presentation today. Okay, continuing on the topic, drive for the weather. Posted speed limits are for ideal or best weather conditions. You do not have to drive the speed limit. So anything less than ideal, you should be either slowing down or making sure you're staying in control of your vehicle. That's the ultimate goal. And then slowing down when passing vehicles that are stopped on the side of the road, just to be aware of that. Okay, and we do have another video on winter conditions.
The 60-Second Driver.
The term speed kills is most often associated with driving over the speed limit, but a number of fatal crashes can be attributed to driving the speed limit in less than ideal conditions. Whether you're on the highway or in the city, the posted speed limit is intended for ideal road and weather conditions.
In bad weather or on icy streets, slowing down is the first thing you should do. Many drivers continue to drive at the posted speed limit, even when it's unsafe. Excessive speed is often a factor in fatal crashes in Manitoba. When roads are less than ideal, adjust your speed for the road conditions. Police can ticket you for unsafe driving even if you are below the speed limit.
Remember, the maximum posted speed limit is for perfect conditions, so drive for the conditions. Remember, if there's ice or snow, take it slow.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-Second Driver, Thursdays at 6 on CTV News. Brought to you by Manitoba Public Insurance.
Okay, so winter preparation. I talked a little earlier about clearing snow and ice off headlights and taillights. That image right there is a little bit extreme, but in Manitoba, we get lots of snowfall sometimes where you park your vehicle, there's no snow on it when you start work, and you leave work and your vehicle looks like that. So I was at the dollar store not too long ago, and they had similar snow brushes as this. We should all be putting these snow brushes in our vehicle this time of year. And some people look at this as a necessary tool. I looked at this as a safety item. Have this in your vehicle that you know that if you have that much snow on your vehicle or it needs to be cleared off your headlights and taillights, that you're going to have one of these in your vehicle that you can clear the snow and ice off your vehicle to ensure other vehicles and drivers see you, as well as you being able to see because your headlights are cleared off. Okay. And then drive to road conditions. That was in our top 10 tips. And then vehicle maintenance again. Okay, I'm just going to show a quick video on snow plows. Often when I do this presentation, I do get questions about snow plows. So I'm just going to play the video. And if there are any questions about it after, I'll definitely try to answer those for you. Okay.
The 60-Second Driver.
After a snowfall, snowplow drivers work hard to clear our streets. Here are a few tips to help you share the road safely with these big machines.
Slow down and leave plenty of space between you and the snow plow. Always be prepared to stop suddenly. Only pass snow plows when it's safe, and don't pass on the right-hand side, as snow is often plowed to the right. If you're not sure what the operator is going to do, wait and make eye contact. They may finish their task, or they may stop and wave you on if safe. Snow plows can sometimes create snow clouds that reduce visibility. Keep your vehicle headlights on to help the machine operator see you and to help you see.
A little patience around snowplows will help operators get their job done quickly and you on your way safely.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-Second Driver, Thursdays at 6 on CTV News. Brought to you by Manitoba Public Insurance.
Okay, 3 big takeaways from that quick video. Slow down and leave plenty of space between you and the snow plow. Always be prepared to stop suddenly, and only pass a snow plow if it is safe, and don't pass on the right-hand side as they often plow the snow to the right. Okay, and then this next slide here on snowbanks, this is the results of those snow plows. They pile the snow up on our curbs, and then in the middle of winter, it can look like this. So sometimes the plowed snow gets taken away, and other times it's pushed to the side, such as this image I'm showing you today. It can block your views, and the piles of snow can block your view, causing you to either enter an intersection with more caution. And what you have to do and properly enter the roadway is making sure you stop before you enter that roadway if your snowbanks look like this. For instance, if you're exiting this driveway here, the proper thing to do is stop right at the edge of the roadway where the snowbanks end. If you can, and it's that time of day, have your lights on and making sure your lights are on so other traffic can see you. And you as the person leaving that driveway, entering the main roadway, are responsible. So what you have to do is move from that position slowly, ensuring that you can see past the snowbanks, and then you continue on to the roadway safely. So that's the proper way to exit. Okay. At night, flashing high beams can also help alert other drivers that you're edging out from the snowbank into the main roadway. So that's another tip as well. Okay, I'm gonna play this last video here.
The 60-Second Driver.
High snowbanks can hinder your ability to see approaching vehicles when entering traffic.
Here are a few tips to enter into a snowbound intersection safely. Always come to a complete stop, then creep slowly forward. It may also help to lean forward in your seat to get a better view of the road.
Look both ways and be ready to stop suddenly if you see traffic approaching.
Watch for headlights on the roadway and hug the curb on right turns. At night, flashing the high beams can help alert other drivers that you are edging out from behind a snowbank.
In extreme situations, honk your horn or use a spotter to help you make your turn or enter the road safely. It's the responsibility of the driver entering the main roadway to ensure it's safe.
For more driving tips, watch the 60-Second Driver, Thursdays at 6 on CTV News. Brought to you by Manitoba Public Insurance.
Okay, I'm just going to recap some of the tips that we talked about and finish up here. Tips to make winter driving safer: clean snow off ice off your windows, headlights, and taillights. We covered that today. Drive to conditions and test your traction. So what you can do is, obviously, if you know that the roads are slippery that day, make sure you're traveling a little bit slower than the posted speed limit, and make sure to test your traction. So in a safe area, abrupt or firmly press your brakes. And if your vehicle is sliding, adjust your road driving to what is the proper speed that you're always maintaining control of your vehicle. Okay, don't use cruise control in icy conditions. Essentially, when you're using the cruise control, you're taking your feet off the pedals. If you have to react and stop quickly, you do that slower when your feet are off the pedals. So you never want to use cruise control in icy conditions. Okay, watch for road glare, which could mean black ice. Black ice is sometimes not easy to identify. You'll see that, or what black ice is patches of ice on the pavement that blend in with the pavement. It's not easily seen. Therefore, when you get to either a patch of black ice, it can cause you to lose control. And sometimes we see a buildup of black ice in intersections. Okay, again, in whiteout conditions, slow down gradually. Maintain your vehicle maintenance and ensure proper fluids. Make sure you have at least a half tank in your vehicle. You never know when you're going to be stuck in traffic. And plug in your vehicle's block heater. Essentially, every vehicle in Manitoba should have a block heater. It's a cord that comes out of your vehicle, and when you plug that in extreme cold conditions, what it helps do is ensure your motor oil in your vehicle doesn't freeze overnight, and you'll be able to start your vehicle with ease the next day. Okay, we're gonna skip to being prepared for emergencies. Check the weather before you go. Again, the website that I recommend, that I use, is manitoba511.ca. Give yourself extra time for travel, even up to 10 minutes. You never know if you're going to be stuck in traffic, and you don't want to be rushing or speeding to your destination in winter conditions. Tell people where you're going. It's easy enough to send a text message before you get in the vehicle. That way they know that you're going to get there, or if you don't get there on time, they know who to contact, or to make sure to contact the people where you're going, and making sure that you're getting there safely. No shortcuts. Stay on main roads. Oops, I apologize. Make sure there's enough fuel in the gas tank. Wear warm clothes. I always keep an extra blanket in my vehicle just in case, as part of my winter kit. And have a charged cell phone. Those are all really great tips in being prepared for emergencies. Okay, that is my time. Just want to thank everybody. Be safe and be prepared.
Garry, we have some questions here. I think Samantha has already answered her question. So Gail wants to ask, I missed number 3, 2, and 1 tips. I think those are the tips in the initial slides. What are those key points?
Is that 2, 3, and 1?
Yep.
Okay, so number 3, we'll talk about that a little bit more again. Beware of icy spots. Okay, the 3 areas that we want you to be focused on is bridges, overpasses, and intersections. So bridges and overpasses, it's elevated over ground level, right? So commonly we will see in some conditions a buildup of ice at the start of the bridge and at the end of the bridge, because they don't have the ground insulating them, causing a fluctuation in like temperature. So sometimes we get condensation or moisture in those areas where you see a buildup of ice. Okay, and then intersections, we talked about accelerating gently or gradually. Sometimes in intersections, people don't know that tip, and they sit there and accelerate as they would normally, and they slip. And essentially what they do with their tires is polish that area in the intersection. And when they leave, it makes it even more of a slippery area. So that is where you'll see common buildup of ice. Okay, number 2, speed up and slow down gradually. Again, I talked about that. It allows you to, 1, save gas and fuel, because you're not wasting it spinning and not going anywhere. And you're maintaining control of your vehicle. Sometimes if you do press your gas, you start spinning and it catches traction, it could cause you to lose control of your vehicle. Okay, and then 1, being a defensive driver. Again, one of the things that you can do to become a defensive driver is controlling your speed. That's the easy one, because you're in control of your vehicle. One of the things that come in mind are obviously, again, mentioning leaving enough room between you and the vehicle in front of you. And another thing, if somebody wants to change lanes in your lane, as opposed to having that thought process of somebody trying to cut you off, let them into that lane and then backing off and then allowing that room again. So letting people in the lane as well is another tip for being a defensive driver.
Yeah, so related to this, there is another question in the chat. I leave more space between my vehicle and the vehicle in front of me in the winter, but some cars will cut in. As you said, any tips? Would it be the cut-in driver's fault if we collide or 50-50?
Anytime you're changing lanes from a straight line and going into the other person's lane, you're essentially taking the other person's lane. So I can't really specifically talk about liability. However, if you're the one changing lanes, the accident wouldn't have happened if those vehicles do come into contact without that person changing lanes. Hopefully that's a clear answer. It's still our claims department handles those liability situations. Don't want to comment too much more on that. However, if you are the driver changing lanes, you have to do that safely and successfully. So the onus is on that person. Okay. The other thing is, yes, I used to see that often when I used to be in driver education, where we always teach new drivers to back off and leave that safe space, and then somebody takes it. It's about changing that road safety attitude again, that if somebody takes that space, it's fine. You just reset and allow more space again for that vehicle.
I think that really answers the questions. There's another question by Constable Belinda. Does MPIC still offer those senior refresher driving lessons?
I am not sure. That's a good question. Minu, can you take that that person's information? I'd like to get back to them with the proper answer.
Okay, you can just
take note of that to make sure.
Share it with everyone.
I mentioned in the comment section that Safety Services in Manitoba has the Mature Driving Program. So that's kind of the sister program to Driving Safely with Tons. They don't do like an in-car driving training, but they go over the rules of the road.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. And so there's another question. Could you please repeat the essential things that a senior, any driver should have in a car, especially in wintertime? In the event of a collision during wintertime, could you please enumerate the best course of action that a senior should do? Please enumerate slowly. Thank you.
All right. So I do have a list of what items, I think it's top 10 here, items that you should keep in your vehicle during the winter time. So we have sand or kitty litter. If people are familiar with kitty litter or sand, to help you in situations where your vehicle is stuck. Sometimes you can put sand in and around those areas and it'll cause you to have traction and get yourself out of a situation where your vehicle is stuck. Traction mats as well. So even spare mats, sometimes you can put a mat in between a vehicle, a tire that is stuck and the snow. It'll cause you to have traction and you'll be able to get out. Okay, some tow chains. I've never had tow chains in my vehicle, but I know that it can be proven useful. So if you are traveling on the highway, you can go to any hardware store and have some chains and put those in your vehicle as an emergency only type of item. So that's recommended. Possibly a compass. We recommend that if your vehicle is stuck and you're out on the highway, not to leave your vehicle. However, a compass can kind of help you, put you in the right direction of if you do get lost. So that's something that we recommend as well. Some paper towels, extra clothing, and possibly some boots or extra footwear just to keep you warm. Emergency food pack. Okay. Fire extinguisher. I know Costco sells one that's very inexpensive that you can keep in your vehicle. So our fire extinguisher is one of them as well. Extra windshield washer fluid, that becomes crucial in winter because you're often cleaning your windows to make sure they're clear. Fuel line antifreeze is recommended. Okay, that goes in your gas tank to make sure your fuel line doesn't freeze. And then first aid kit as well.
Okay, so there's another request. So precautions for driving on slopes in winter.
One of the tips again, I mean, we live here on the prairies, so we're not going to have too many slopes. However, slowing down gradually and also accelerating gradually is a great tip. So for instance, if I see, I'm going to talk about a downhill type of situation where the highway is sloped downhill, and at the end of that hill, there's a stop sign. I know in ideal conditions, I'll have no issues pressing the brake and stopping where I need to be. But once I see that on winter roads, I'm going to change my thought process and anticipate that it's going to take me a lot longer to stop. So I'm going to coast. We always teach that in driver education, meaning you take your foot off the gas a little bit earlier. Naturally start decelerating without a brake. Apply the brakes so that when you get to that place where you need to stop, you'll be prepared. So that's a good tip. And I think accelerating, again, I explained it earlier in the presentation, accelerating gradually is just the best tip when you're leaving a stop position, because you're always maintaining control of your vehicle.
I think that's it for now. So thank you, Samantha and Garry, for this wonderful informative session. So now I will announce the winners for this session for the gift cards. And the winners are Chayong Shia, Lyudmila Yan, and Veena. So congratulations to everyone. Lorena will email you about the details of how you'll be receiving these gift cards. So now I think I will take from here, Maureen, you want to come in?
Thank you. Thank you, Garry and Samantha. That was so important information, especially and very timely, as you said. So that concludes our Senior Immigrant Safety Expo. I'm really happy. It seemed like it went well. And I want to thank everyone for coming and participating. Some excellent questions. I really hope that you learned something valuable to help you stay safe, whether it be, walking on the roads, in the community, online. So yeah, I really hope that you gained some valuable information. And we do want to know your opinion and what you thought about it. So please keep your eyes out for the email from Karina in the next, probably today, right, Karina? Yeah, I think that's all. Oh, so for those of you who are clients and participate in our other programming, we will return to our regular schedule on Friday. So tomorrow, nothing for Remembrance Day, but we'll be back to regular programming on Friday. So if that's all I had to say, Karina, do you have something? I'll let you take it from here.
Yes. I want to say thank you so much, especially to Garry and Samantha, because you're here with us at this moment, but also to all our presenters. I know some of them are joining us today as well. And to all the participants for attending and for asking great questions. We hope you got a lot of great information. And I look forward to reading your comments in the survey, our evaluation survey. So thank you so much, everybody. Take care, stay home today, don't drive anywhere, and we will see you in our classes and programs on Friday.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.